Well, good morning. This song faded out in the background is called I Am Peace and Salam. Well, it's playing now at 8 minutes after the hour of 9, welcoming you to the third and the last hour of the Fresh Rays. Now, as Moses is mentioned, this moment we'll be having a conversation, and I want to welcome you and then to this series of conversation by Advance Youth Radio as we make a campaign on transitional justice. Now, this will be a series of 5 radio talk shows and also 4 podcast discussions that will be available. Now, as a foundation to these series that we will be doing on transitional justice, today we laid a foundation as an introduction to this series, and today we look at the foundation of healing, which is the unpacking of the CTRH and the CRA laws, and also looking into, since that they have been passed from last year, what are some of the next steps that we can do? What is the mandate of these mechanisms that we do have within our disposal? Now, throughout this campaign, then, we're looking at how our nation can be healed in this process, forgetting the past and moving beyond the conflict that we have witnessed into a future that will bring us liberty, prosperity, and also peace within South Sudan. Today, I'm joined by 2 distinguished guests in the studio to start this, and the first that I'll introduce to us is Zabib Musa, who is the Executive Director for WOJE. Welcome to the studios of Advanced Youth Radio again. It's a pleasure always to have you here.
Thank you very much, and good morning, our listeners.
And yes, I am joined as well by Juma Mabor, who is also a very familiar face, but this year we have not had so much encounters within the studios per se. He is a member of the technical working group when we talk about transitional justice. Welcome to the studios, Juma.
Thank you, Advan News Radio, and good morning to all our listeners.
Yes, these are the 2 distinguished guests that will be with me in the studio as we look into the foundation of transitional justice within South Sudan. But before we look into the mechanism that have been established by the R-Axis in Chapter 5, we will serve an introductory note from Juma. Juma, when people talk about transitional justice, even before we go into the mechanism and the laws that we have within our disposal now, what is the concept of transitional justice?
Well, thank you, Babato, and thank you for hosting us again this morning. We are not strangers to the Advan News Radio, and we are glad that you have been able to also invite us again today to share with the public about the transitional justice. The concept of transitional justice is not a new concept because it is a concept that they try to put in place mechanism that address the legacy of conflict in a post-conflict context, and also try to look at the issues of violation of human rights and see how communities that have been fragmented by years and decades of conflict are reconciled. So these are a number of policies and measures and mechanisms that are put in place in order to bring national healing and reconciliation among the members of the society.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned the existence of that transitional justice as well front onto the society policies. That as well is a good note to re-echo to the listener that we do have some policies or laws rather that have been passed since last year. Before we look into this, have there been any progress towards since the signing of these laws into existence when you come to transitional justice within South Sudan?
Yeah, Chapter 5 is one of the chapters of the agreement that has gained remarkable implementation because up to 80% of this chapter has been implemented with the enactment of these 2 major legislation. That is the Commission for Truth, Reconciliation and Healing Act 2024 and the Compensation and Reparation Authority Act 2024. And soon after the enactment of those laws and their assent to by the President, the Council of Ministers in February endorsed the establishment of these 2 institutions, the CTRH and the CRA. And this is now squarely before the Ministry of Justice, which is supposed to establish a selection panel.
Yeah.
And then it is this selection panel that can now make an advertisement for the commissioners to apply. And then once the commissioners apply and they go through the vetting process and the appointment, then the two institutions can easily be established. So the ball is in the court of the Ministry of Justice. Yeah, and that is the milestone that has been done so far.
All right, thank you for that. In addition to that, Sabib, in any way that you want to put across?
I'll say that it's a good step that I think it is one of the chapter 5 is one of the articles of the agreement that has been paid a lot of attention to. And where we are at the moment is that we are actually into the implementation phase, which is also very key. And the fact that I want to also say that maybe I will say that the mandate of the CTRH is also tasked with uncovering, the way my colleague has said, the truth about human rights violations and abuses committed during the period of conflicts in South Sudan. And we also see that it will also help to provide a platform for victims and perpetrators to share their experiences. So for me, the commitment that we are seeing and the efforts that all of us are doing towards the implementation of Chapter 5 is key.
Yeah.
And I also say that where we've reached, at least our eyes are still so much in the Ministry of Justice to see that the selection panel is established and that the commission becomes functional then.
Yeah. Yes, we will talk about the selection of the commissioners in later conversation when it comes to there's a series of a conversation on transitional justice. And if you're there as well, if you have interest in how those commissioners will take seat, well, in the coming edition, you'll be able to have a clear idea how they will be selected, given that the council already endorsed the establishment of this institution or mechanism that are enshrined within the Chapter 5 of the Revitalized Peace Agreement. Now, let's look into these two laws that have been passed a little bit. And as Abibio alluded to some of the functions or some of the mandates that these institutions or mechanism or laws will carry in the face of South Sudan, and also as to why they are important at such a time as this. When we think about these two laws as in a general look into them so far, for now at least, are there some specific like human rights violations that they seek to address within the mandate as a whole, a broader entity of transitional justice is concerned?
Yes. One of the there are so many violations that these laws or these acts will address. And one of the biggest would be the conflict-related sexual violence. That is actually one of the major issues that needs to be addressed by these laws. And then we also see forced disappearance in conflict. We've also seen killings, extrajudicial killings, and the loss of properties, destruction of people's properties. So actually, those are some of the major, then the forceful displacement of people. People have lost their lives during this displacement. They have lost property. So these are some of the issues that the laws will address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, can you, in addition to some of the examples that as Abiv has mentioned, she's mentioned issues to do with the conflict-related sexual violence and also forced disappearances and displacement, and then the loss of property. Besides these four that she has mentioned, are there some other violations that these two entities seek to resolve as a whole?
Yeah, violation of human rights has a lot of aspects, including the sexual-based violence that she has talked about, including rape, including murders, and including even destruction of properties, as she has stated. And it is upon the victims of the human rights violations to come out now and say this is the extent to how I was being violated. And then the commission is also to investigate the abuses of power and the rule of law, because some of the institution or agencies abuses the rule of law and they abuses the power that they had. And therefore, it is upon the commission to also investigate. The additional thing that the commission is also going to do is to recommend institutional reforms in as far as the operation of some of the government institutions are concerned. So it is going to look at a variety of issues that can be brought before it. But it is incumbent upon the commission, once established, or all these mechanisms, once they are established, to come up now with some of the guidelines that fall within the parameters of the law.
Yeah. Now, Aliron, Zabib mentioned how that the Commission for Truth also will work to uncover truth in itself in these whole years of conflict that we've witnessed, but also in a way that then takes us forward to the future. Can you walk us, Juma, through the process, how individuals or communities will be able to engage with the Commission for Truth, Healing and Reconciliation if I have suffered one of the offenses that we have just cited? And think about the abuse of power, the loss of property, think about the displacement, the forced disappearances, and all the lives, so every form of violation that we can think about. How can I, as an individual, engage with the Commission for Truth, Healing and Reconciliation?
The commission is going to be an open public institution, and they will be able to give guidelines on how they can be able to hear from the public about the grievances and the human rights violation that they have suffered. And they will create a work plan, including civic education and public consultation forums, where they can be able to engage with the victims and survivors of the human rights violation and the survivors of the conflict. So everybody will have an opportunity to present themselves before the commission, and they will be heard. Some will be heard privately, others will be heard publicly. And therefore, it is an open forum where everybody who has suffered any human rights violation or any abuses of the rule of law can be able to access and have conversation with the commissioners. So the whole lot of work is with the commission when they are established, and that's why the laws are very clear on how they should have different mechanisms, and they can form different committees. They can have human rights committee, they can have amnesty committee, they can have different committees within the commission that can be able to receive and engage with the public and the victims of the violations.
Well, thank you for that. It's 21 minutes now that have passed after the hour of 9. You're listening to Advance with Radio 99.9 FM. Today we're looking into the inception of a series of conversation on transitional justice. And today we're looking at the foundation, which are the laws, the CTRH and the CRA, which is already in existence. What is some of the mandates that the laws bring forth, but how can you also engage with it as an individual or as a community? Now, if you do have a question in regards to the same, you can leave a text on 0922-990-990 or 0918-990-990. You can also find us on Facebook, that is Advance Digital. Shortly, I'll be opening up the studio lines, and when it is open, you can be able to then dial in the numbers. Shivertiza at 989 tiza Shivertiza Shiver or Shivertiza wait a minute tiza Shivertiza Shiver. Let me switch to you, Zabib. You work closely to ensure the protection of different sorts of vulnerable groups of individuals within South Sudan. In as much as the mechanism for truth, reconciliation, and healing is open, as Juma has described, how can we ensure, or how does the mechanism or the institution ensure the safety and protection of the victims, witnesses, and also those participating in the CTRH process, because this may also become another threat to them. They have suffered and they come forward, they are looking for a resolution, and the people whom they might be accusing will come again and threaten their lives again. How will the individuals who are coming forward be ensured that their life is protected, whether as a witness or a participant or a victim?
Thank you very much. And as my colleague had said, that there are people who will be heard in private and in public. Also, I would say that for the process to be smooth, there will be, or there should be, a victims and witness protection mechanism that needs to be followed closely, and also that needs to be respected. And for us in the protection, we have guidelines also on how a victim has to be, can be engaged without re-victimizing the same victim again. Meaning that their safety comes at the center. But even when we have a process that is very smooth, as long as it does not centralize the safety of victims, then it's not a process. So one of the most important things is having the safety at the center. And then number two is giving the right awareness to victims and witnesses. So the awareness bit is very important, that before people start coming out to present their issues, they need to be aware. They need to be aware of maybe the consequences. There would be positive and negative consequences. Even the victims should be aware that because people will be curious also, thinking that when you come out and explain about your whole scenario and all this, probably you will get something in advance, in return you will be given a whole village to yourself as a compensation. So that has to be catered for. We need to cater for the curiosity of the people's expectations by the right awareness, and also giving them the options that will be there for that they should expect during these hearings. And that the hearing may not be a one day off. It will be a process. That hearing will be a process. And the other thing would be, even if compensation is coming, compensation will be agreed upon. It might be, let's say we are coming to build a school in your community as a payback on the issue that happened in that particular community, or maybe we are constructing a big electricity. We are we are working on electricity for the city to just change people's lives. So awareness will be key in the whole process.
Now, when you think about, you have described as well how that a community might then receive a compensation as a whole. Is there then a way that this current, process that have been established by this agreement, but also the laws that have come about, is there an interplay between the traditional mechanisms that may exist within, for instance, the most basic level of unit we can think about, maybe in the villages? Will this mechanism collaborate with such people to ensure maybe equitable or maybe accurate, compensation for such groups of people, and also their protection?
Yeah, you see, for something to be called a process, it means that it has different steps, and there is going to be different engagements at different levels. So if we might have, like we have villages that fell and suffered a massive destruction in places. So how are you going to enter into that village and start giving it to individuals? No, there will be a process, and these community leaders, the community itself, people will sit, and the commissioners will be moving, and the committees that will be formed will be listening to the people.
Maybe in addition to that, the protection is not only about the victim and survivors, but also the perpetrators. because at the end of the day, these people may also be a risk when they come to give their confessions or even testimonies, and the victim could be seeing them directly. And to avoid any incidents of recurrence of the same problem that is trying to be addressed, then you need also to give protection across the board, and that is why she's talking about the measures, because the commission now is going to put down measures on how to protect some of these participants in the commission. In addition to the question that you have just asked, the law is very clear under Section 8 on the powers and function of the commission. In this case, the Commission for Truth, Reconciliation and Healing. Under Section 8, subsection 22, it talk about the traditional practices, that the Commission shall adopt best practices for promoting truth, reconciliation and healing from religious, traditional and customary justice mechanism in South Sudanese tradition and from African countries and elsewhere in the world. So the traditional practices and customary justice mechanism practices are going to be largely part of the process. And you know, like in Rwanda, you could see the Kachacha court. This is a village setting kind of court whereby so many cases that could not be brought before the commission or even before the established legal system are heard at the village level, and then they deliver justice there and then. So the commission is also going to make use of this traditional justice mechanism.
Well, 30 minutes past 9. You're listening to Advance with Radio 99.9 FM. Today is a Tuesday. We're on to the 8th day of the month of July 2025. With me in the studio, I've got Zabib Musa and Choma Maboro. We're looking into the laws that will be establishing the Commission for Truth, Healing and Reconciliation, but also the Compensation and Reparation Authority that is in place. We will then be able to have questions coming up from you on 0922-990990, 0918-990990. You can also leave a text on those very numbers as you please, whether it's a question or a comment on the transitional justice processes or the commissions that the laws are establishing. You can be able to reach out or leave a text on those same lines. A final question on the CTRH to Mabor before we look as well at the Compensation and Reparation Authority. Now, the CTRH has a long mandate of about 6 years, and also it could be renewed for another 6 years. When I look at that, I'm like, what is the reasoning behind that extended, that long period of time? What is the look forward to? What does it suggest to the public as a whole, and also the transitional justice process?
Yeah, the reason is very obvious that seeking truth, reconciling communities, and also giving institutional and organizational reform is not easy. And you are addressing the legacy of conflict and human rights violation across the country. And considering a number of factors that you can put together, including the financial challenges, and also the people are scattered across the country and even across the borders. The commission will need adequate time to investigate and also take their time to hear the truth. Telling the truth will not just be an event. It needs a process that you need to also to help people heal along the process. So healing is part of this. And even when people were having conversation on the number of years, others were suggesting that it should be a permanent institution instead of even giving it a limited period of time, because all these human rights violations are some of the things that happen every now and again. So 6 years is not even enough time if the commission is to really exhaust and bring total healing and reconciliation among the people of South Sudan. But if they utilize it very well, then it can be able to bring some changes in the country. So if they finish 6 years and there is still some pending work that need to be done, that is why there is provision for renewal for another 6 years.
Yeah. Well, now I would want to open up the studio lines. Shifrtiza, tiza shifrtiza, tiza shivra, shifrtiza, wait a minute, tiza shifrtiza, tiza shivr. Those are numbers available for you to reach out on if you do have a question when it comes to transitional justice. It's something that some of us sit back on and you're like, really, in South Sudan, can we tell the truth within our community? I know these thoughts are there, these questions are there, but what is lingering within your mind in this moment? Even as I have within the studio, Zabib and Juma. Good morning. Hello? Hello? Yes, please. Good morning.
Good morning, Chief. How are you?
I'm good. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is John. I'm calling from Munich.
John Munuke.
Yes.
Yes, John.
By the way, I want to say thank you so much for the topic. And I appreciate every one of you there. What you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. See, for us, if we have such a conversation in our communities, I believe there's nothing that will stop us from having this. That is one thing I learned from this one, and I'm grateful for it, every one of you guys. Thank you so much, may God bless you. And also, this as youth, we are the one to talk with our community. We don't know tribalism, don't know anything ahead about it. All we know is our time.
Wait. Joe, your network is a little bit breaking up, and a couple of words we have not heard it really.
Okay. I was saying, I'm really grateful for what you're doing, guys. I'm really grateful for what you're doing.
All right.
If we have such conversation in our communities for long, I believe we would have not have all these troubles that we are having right now.
Okay.
Because people fear the talk, but they are very courageous to carry guns. But why can you just talk? But they don't want to have talk because no one loves the truth. Everybody want to lie in a lie. And then with that one, where are we going? Where are we going with that one? Nobody is understanding somebody. Nobody is listening to someone. This is not a lie.
Yeah.
It's not a lie, actually. It's not a lie. But in this way, and by respecting our laws, especially our national laws, and we have communities. We have communities. And we have communities. Nobody will say that doesn't respect the community or doesn't respect his elders in the community. Nobody will say that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling, John.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, that's John from Monuki, and he says that such conversation should be continued if they have been there for long. That's what, paraphrasing him, then could have had a better standing. And speaking the truth is one thing, yes. It's a difficult thing, especially when the environment does not permit you to do that often. But as my guests have elaborated, transitional justice is trying to rewrite the legacy of conflict that we have had, trying to address some of those past grievances. Now, even as we continue, we do have about 24 minutes now to 10, but our time is limited. And let's briefly look into the Compensation and Reparation Authority. And I'll start with you, Zabib. You mentioned some sort of an answer to this question that I seek, which is this. In the process of compensating people, what are the forms by which whether individuals or communities will be compensated when they approach this authority, or when the commission has deemed this one is to be appropriate? What are some of the likely, ways of compensating someone? Because you also did mention that the expectation of individuals can be very, very high. Someone will say that if I go there, they will give me maybe $1,000 and I'll have some money, or maybe they'll give me some cows, or maybe they'll build for me a house. It is possible that I can expect these things. If my house in the village was burned down, Why wouldn't I expect a house to be built for me? So, in what way can we expect? What are some of the likely forms of compensation that we will see?
Thank you. And I'll say that compensation is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
But our compensations and let's say bringing experiences from different countries that have compensated survivors of conflicts, human rights violations.
Yeah.
And then I don't think South Sudan, we are going to be too different from them. And there are some compensations that will need to be paid attention to. And probably, for example, as a woman and as a person that has seen those women that have survived conflict-related sexual violence, if I'm asked to suggest a reparation for them, I would say that maybe in a village like that one, if a village has got so many of such incidences, then a good hospital for women will be a fine reparation for such a community. And then a good school for their children will also be a good thing. When we look at then women who also have children that were born as a result of that, if there is a recognition that is now given to these children, maybe a free education for children, and with a specific attention to children that are born out of conflict-related sexual violence, that would be a good reparation for these women when they know that these children will have education until they finish their education and become really independent human beings. These other things of construction and all that, that will also depend on conversations. But I think for South Sudan, if we can just have a discussion around, we'll have also communal reparations. Communal reparations will mean that these are for communities, and that's what I was saying, hospitals, schools, and all that. Those who got severe injuries, if they need treatment, then the treatment can also be suggested. But you see, these are things that will come up as the process will be going on.
Yeah.
We also don't want to blow them with
maybe just a follow-up then to that. And you mentioned a very key thing, Zabib, which is this. Some people will be like, instead of having individual compensations, let us think about communal compensation, or reparations as a whole. Juma, when you think about such a scenario, what are the possible playouts, whether for individual or for community? Which one is better, quote unquote, better? I'm using the word with reservation.
Both are applicable because it is on a contact basis. Because somebody might have, like she said, somebody lost her house or her cattle during the conflict. And she knows exactly who burned the house. And she knows exactly who took away her cattle. And therefore, this one is a potential candidate for individual compensation. But you see Malakal, the Upper Nile region, the school were burned, hospital were razed down, and then homestead were damaged. So what would happen in that case is that the government now and the commission will recommend, or the authority will recommend, a communal compensation and reparation for that matter, such that you build a good school where all the people in that particular area who suffered as a result of their school being burned down or the hospital being burned down can benefit from it. So it is going to be both the personal and also communal compensation and reparation. And this will now be the work of the authority to know who is eligible, not forgetting the context in which we are operating in, where corruption takes center stage in everything. For example, you start now registering the victims and the survivors, then general comes and say, my families are victims and they are survivors, and then they qualify for compensation. So the authority now to see who is eligible for compensation and which communities are eligible for reparation.
Yeah.
Juma, there was a time during the consultations for these laws, and when we were discussing about the victims and somebody said, somebody very responsible said,
Yeah.
if it is compensation, then everybody, including myself, I
Have
am
to be compensated.
yes, the whole of South Sudan should be compensated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a bit.
That's quite a tricky proposition there.
Yeah.
What does it take to compensate 12 million people? 13 million, let's say 13. That's a lot of resource there needed. But of course, not everyone has suffered to the same extent. And the examples that as well as Abib has brought are very intimate in a way and very, personal. And as you have both mentioned, we will not set the expectations too high as well for the one who is listening to say, Yumdak, Zabib, or Musa Kelim.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on 0922990990, maybe one caller as we draw to a conclusion. Now, as we think about the concluding part, compensating someone requires resource. I was going to say requires money, but I will not use the word money. Requires resource. And I think about such a place as South Sudan, where we have heard oftentimes we have limited resource. We don't have money to build schools. We don't have money to do this. We don't have money to do that, this and that, this and that. When I think about the question of compensation and reparation within South Sudan as a part of the transitional justice process or healing process, seeking of truth and all this, my question that I usually have to boil with is, how are these things going to be funded? Who is going to fund them?
Yeah.
Who's going to be responsible?
Thank you, Babeto. I really wanted to grab that question from you and criticize it outright, because we have a lot of resources as South Sudan.
Yeah.
Our problem is lack of priorities and also mismanagement of these resources. If there is a country that is so rich in this world, it's South Sudan, because we have a very small number of population, and we also have huge resources. Because there is no country in the world where you can get very virgin kind of agricultural land, and then oil, and then human resource. But it is mismanagement of our resources that make it look like we don't have anything. And this is something that need to be addressed. Now, who is responsible for putting these resources together? It is the government, the current government or the subsequent government that will be able to do. And by the way, when you look at this issue of compensation or reparation, it's not going to be an individual doing it. It is the government that is going to do it with, of course, the help of partners and other international actors. But the ball lies in the court of the government to make sure that the Commission for Truth, Reconciliation and Healing recommend for compensation, and then the Compensation and Reparation Authority now try to execute that compensation and reparation, then the government must make sure that there are resources to do that. And that is why there is what they call the Compensation and Reparation Fund, which is supposed to have been started long time ago by putting 100 million every year in the, it is even every month in the reparation. In the reparation, in the compensation and reparation. That is dollars. That is dollars. That should have been started as soon as the peace agreement was signed. But then that money is not being put there now. So these are the issues.
I am calculating how much money.
You are calculating the money. And this was done deliberately in order such that at the end of the day, when the Compensation and Reparation Authority say that Juma, Babuito, Zabib Musa have to be compensated, then there is already an available fund. If there is a school to be constructed or a hospital to be constructed somewhere, then there is already available fund. So the money will just be appropriated for that purpose. So the issue is we are not putting that money there.
So how is it going to be possible?
Yeah, that's the thing. Because now
it is going to be possible because if the commission and the compensation authority have finished their work and they give their recommendation, and there is that political will to implement the recommendation of this transitional justice institution, then it can be possible, because it is just about taking money from here and put it there. For example, we have the oil revenue that come almost every month.
Yeah.
You take about 10 cargo and put it into the account. It will overflow and things will start moving.
I'm trying to imagine if we had started putting it aside, and then hopefully one of the rats will not come and eat it. but yes, that is something. So you've mentioned a couple of things there, Juba, as we conclude in 2 minutes. What are some of the challenges, Zabib, that are really inhibiting the process of transitional justice within South Sudan, whether they work of the CTRH or the Compensation and Reparation Authority? As an examples have been cited, as so many things could come into play. What is a key challenge that you can observe in this process?
I think the major thing is, do I say the lack of prioritization? And the political will.
Yeah.
Right now, as a country, you find that there is a lot that is going on. Even among human beings, citizens, a lot is going on. And then to the leadership, there is too much going on.
Yeah.
So that means that the focus seems to be disrupted all the time. So for me, one of the biggest challenge is that usually as a country, and our leaders do not really focus on priorities. Yet priorities would be very important. If we have that this transitional justice is priority, we started on it, let's keep the focus, let's keep an eye, what do we need? Let's put everything that is required for TJ so that it goes on.
Yeah.
And then another process and another process. But right now, all that is going on is a lot of politics, a lot of looking for solutions and all that. So that is the biggest issue that will affect us.
Yeah.
The lack of political will and priorities.
Yeah.
And maybe to make it very clear, we are not being serious as South Sudanese, and especially our government institution. And I must challenge the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, because the law was passed. The laws were passed in December 2024. November 2024. And then again,
January.
the Council of Ministers endorsed the establishment
Yeah.
of this institution toward the end of January, at the beginning of February. And 6 months later, we still don't have this institution in place. Now the question is, what is delaying us?
Yeah.
Because there is absolutely nothing that need to be done. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require any travel. It doesn't require anything. It just requires the Ministry of Justice to establish the selection panel, and then the selection panel call for the application from the commissioners, those who want to be commissioners, and then the commissioners are appointed, and they start their work. So why are we wasting time?
Yeah.
That is the biggest challenge.
Close to 6 months.
Because we have other things to attend to.
Well, thank you so much for joining Advanced Youth Radio, Sabib Musa. Always pleasure to have you. And Juma, it's also a privilege to have you often in the studio as we talk about transitional justice. I am sure we will talk about this again, not long from now.
Indeed. And we hope the next time we talk about it, the selection panel is in place and the appointment has been done. And then we talk about the operationalization.
And frameworks.
Yeah. God willing.
Happy Independent Day.
Inshallah. All right. Please send out your independence. Please go ahead. Let me give you the opportunity. Tomorrow, independence, please. Let me start with you, Joe.
Yeah, by the way, I wanted to put an article, but it's good I got an opportunity with the Advanced Youth Radio to speak to the public. South Sudan has spent 14 years, and if we add the years of the CPA, it is already 19 years. When we talk about peace and peace and peace, other countries have gone ahead talking about technology, talking about economic development, talking about urbanization, talking about ABCD.
Climate,
And 19 years
what?
we are talking about peace.
peace.
I am asking the South Sudanese that we use this independent to be the end of the year that we talk about peace, and then we join the rest of the world talking about other things. So happy independent, 14th Independent Day tomorrow.
That is a heartfelt message from Ajuma. I must also record with that.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, from me is happy independence to every South Sudanese. I have seen people running around with flags. And all.
They're
It shows
very
that
resilient,
it shows that people are patriotic in a way.
Yeah.
And with all the pain, we are still able to carry our flags and be proud.
Yeah.
So, as Juma has said, Yajama, let this be the last year we call for peace. So that the coming year, we will be talking about developments and, the best of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so happy independence to every Junubi.
Yeah.
And please take care of yourselves as you celebrate.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself, and may this be the last year we talk about peace. You do have a good morning until we meet again tomorrow.